Hi there! Just as a quick preface to this video, at some point along the development process, the audio to the original recording got lost to the winds. So this is going to be a different style of video where I dub over everything in the original recording with commentary in post. So feel free to let me know in the comments whether you think this works or not, and whether or not you'd like to see this format of content going on in the future. Anyways, with that out of the way, let the Spire ensue. Alright, so before I can ascend all 8 layers of divine knowledge and become the omnipotent shadow god, I need to beat the hardest difficulty on Slay the Spire with all 4 of the main characters. Why? Because the plot demands it, no more questions. I'm taking the 2 transforms here because removing 2 starter cards and adding 2 new ones is just about the best start Niao is willing to hand you. It gave me a Combust and a Shockwave, which is kind of middling to me, but at least Shockwave is pretty useful early in my opinion. My first combat is against the Cultist, which, let's be honest, everybody loves this guy. I feel kinda bad killing him over and over, but the future Ultimate Shadow God shows mercy to no man. Here I'm going to pick up Hemokinesis because it's a big number and I'm willing to make the sacrifice it demands. Then at the shop, I'm just going to go ahead and cut a Strike, because I don't need that garbage in my deck. Then here at the second shop, one of you guys should really relocate. I pick up a True Grit. I like to grab block cards on the first floor. I then promptly upgrade that True Grit, and I honestly don't remember why. In my next fight, I start out with an early Shockwave, the strongest card in my deck, because the Vulnerable can be used to set me up to do some really devastating damage really quickly. Like, for example, I can play the strongest card in my deck, Homokinesis, to kill them instantly! Anyways, I pick up a Shrug It Off. Again, blocking early is kind of necessary for me. And then after such an impressive showing, I simply had to upgrade Elmokinesis. 20 damage is just too good to pass up on. In my next fight, I prove that AoE is the single strongest thing in Slay the Spire, and I use a potion to get both of my enemies down to half health on turn 1 after making them weak and vulnerable. After that, it's easy to Blender Explode the one that's attacking me in a single turn, and follow up by killing its identical friend the turn after, using my newly upgraded Hormonekinesis! Then I let myself get baited by Blood for Blood. I don't necessarily think this was the correct choice decision to make, but it did end up working out for me on this run in particular, so that proves to me that any bad card can be perfectly acceptable if you high roll hard enough. Anyways, the fight against the Elite here was pretty straightforward. I decided to pop the Metallicized potion to mitigate some of the damage this guy does to me without having to play a skill. On this turn, I do actually play a single block card because I was frightened. But as it turns out, there was never any reason to be afraid, because Halation Kinesis does approximately 1 billion damage. At this point, I somehow managed to resist the intoxicating siren song of the second copy of Harry Houdini Kinesis, and after electing to upgrade my Shockwave instead of resting, I walk on into my Act 1 boss against the Hexaghost. The secret about the Hexaghost that nobody's brave enough to tell you is that he is a bully. He likes to put a bunch of garbage burn cards in your deck that just make your life a little harder to deal with. Because of that, you really need to ramp up damage quickly if you want to be able to kill him before you have so many third-degree burns that it becomes impossible for you to play a single card. Luckily for us, and by us I mean we, I can do 1 trillion damage with my Emokinesis. So for the rest of the fight, I use the help of the Red Skull Relic, which is giving me a very convenient boost to strength to play things like Eldritch Kinesis and Blood for Blood to just do ludicrous amounts of damage in very quick succession. Pretty much the only thing I'm afraid of during this fight is taking a lot of damage from his big attack turns before I have the ability to just kill him with a couple cards. Honestly, I guess I shouldn't be calling the Hexaghost he. It's kind of just a ball of fire, so either it or they or she, maybe. Anyways, after that legendary showdown, I pick up a copy of Reaper, which was arguably the linchpin that tied this entire deck together. I do a lot of damage to myself over the course of this run, and I don't particularly make a habit of putting up a lot of block either, so being able to heal up the damage that I take in a single encounter was extremely valuable to my strategy. My first encounter on the second floor was against the most annoying enemy in the entire game. I do envy his perfect orb stature and his likeness to that of a marshmallow, but other than that, I hate his guts. I think I pick up the Burning Pact here just because it says draw cards on it. This next decision honestly ended up being the second piece of this run that really made things start to roll. You see, as practice for my title as the Endless Shadow God, I decided to make a deal with the Council of Ghosts and trade away some of my max HP for 3 copies of a card called Apparition. Apparition prevents me from taking any meaningful damage for 1 single turn and then disappears after the turn you draw it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I would have won this run if I passed up on the Apparition deal. It was extremely good for me. Anyways, my fight against the Chosen goes just about how you'd expect. Now that I've added all these ghost hands to my deck, I managed to avoid all their big hits and then swiftly finish them off with the power of Herald Kinesis! Why didn't I play that? Oh no, a tragic misplay has occurred. That aside, my next combat is against a lesbian couple, and I just so happen to get the Gremlin Horn Relic between now and the last combat. Don't worry about it. I'm honestly not worried about this encounter at all, because these two are kinda just slow to deal damage, so they give me plenty of time to set up my engine. Oh, yeah, I also got a copy of Spot Weakness off screen. Don't worry about that either. Yet again, I managed to get some nice value out of my shockwave. If there's any genuine advice you should take away from this video, it's that vulnerability is so incredibly good in Slay the Spire. Especially ones like shockwave that apply it for upward of 5 turns are pretty much always worth it for you. But enough theoretically useful commentary. What do you guys think it would be like to have a pocket healer in real life like the Centurion does? I would never have to worry about getting mauled by jackals ever again. Anyways, a clutch pair of Blood for Bloods easily finishes off this fight with some help from the Gremlin Horn. I pick up Anger because, well, in layman's terms, 0-cost attack make my brain go sizzle. Moving swiftly along, the next combat sees the Dumpling coming back for round 2, this time with a friend. I actually focused the Sentry first in this encounter. I don't know if that's the correct choice, but I can't really explain my logic for it further than the fact that I have a tiny conniption every time I draw the card Daze. Next, I get to put to use a neat combo of Apparition plus Spot Weakness so I can build up my strength while not taking damage on the turns I'm not attacking. Pretty useful. Somehow I managed to activate a second Spot Weakness in the Apparition on the following turn, and believe me, I tried so hard to get the most out of that Reaper. I really did. You just have to trust the process. Anyways, more tribute to the Unlimited Shadow God, another testament to my Stygian influence. After that combat, I take Exhume because, I'm gonna be honest, I was trying to force a strength build at this point, and I thought Exhume would be really useful if I managed to find a limit break later on in the run. If you're following along at home, this is not the mindset you're supposed to have when you try to beat this game on high Ascension levels. Dear Lord below. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but the game literally handed me the best possible shop I could ever ask for with this deck. Now the deck has Limit Break, which I was already greedily playing around, and the Rupture, which will get procced actually constantly. Have you been watching how many times I've been playing Harlot Kinesis? My Act 2 boss is the Collector, and honestly, this guy does frighten me. A lot of high-level Ascension runs will get bottlenecked at the Act 2 boss, and there's a good reason why. All of them are souped up beyond belief, and the Collector is no exception. He summons his goons over and over, so even if you manage to AoE them to death, they'll just keep coming back, and he has the single most oppressive debuff in the entire game. I pretty much have to rely on my intangibility to survive the first handful of turns against him, while I attempt to set up stuff like my powers and my spot weakness so that I can build up strength to use my limit break. Now we're talking. I absolutely stomp the minion silly style and turn my attention to the Collector himself. At this point I have a ton of strength and I can exhume my limit break to double it again up to 42. Then all I have to do is draw 2 attacks, and just like that I've gotten out of Act 2 with nary a scratch on my face. Don't look at my health total. Brutality feels like something of a no-brainer here. In addition to increasing my deck's draw power, I also get to slowly disintegrate every single turn, which gives me extra procs of my Rupture. Oh, yeah, I also picked up the Velvet Choker. I really did make some potentially ill-advisable decisions in this run, and frankly, it's kind of a miracle I ended up winning. Oh, yeah, spoilers, by the way, I do end up winning. All you need to know about Velvet Choker is that it puts a hard limit to how many cards I can play each turn. So I can only activate 6 cards before the game decides I've had my fun for today, and it's about time I got started on that pile of homework I've been putting off, and then unplugs my GameCube and sends me to my bedroom so I can focus on my studies. Wait, what was I talking about? Anyways, fighting this rhombus-looking guy, check out how fast I can increase my strength this turn. If watching a number skyrocket into the double digits over the course of a single turn isn't satisfying you, I truly think this game has nothing to offer you. I take a quick pummeling for almost all of my health and then send this guy directly to the woods on my next turn. My next fight is against these guys. I'm pretty sure most of the community refers to them as the Shapes, but I'm pretty confident their scientific name is Wretched Things. This is one of those fights where Gremlin Horn stocks are at their all-time high. After blowing up Wretched Bombus, I get a quick reset to keep going for a little bit. Then it's only a matter of a few turns before I find the things I need to kill the other two. I think their names are Wretched Runkus. Damn, that Reaper felt good. Full health for me. I feast on your carrion, wretched thing. That's probably enough commentary for this hallway fight, right? After this fight, I pick up the card Twin Strike because it's able to output twice my strength number, which is pretty helpful. My next event is Mind Bloom. I wouldn't blame you if you weren't able to tell, since I'm pretty sure I clicked the I Am War option with such astounding speed that it was only visible for maybe a few frames. I get the Act 1 Slime Boss from this event, and while this dude is honestly pretty easy to fight if you know what you're doing, I kind of mess up irreversibly and split him at pretty much exactly half health. I use my Snake Oil Potion here because, well, I'm pretty sure I'm a gambler at heart, but on the bright side, the Reaper stayed at 0 mana, which is helpful because on the next turn I managed to buff up my strength a little bit more and play the Reaper out the first time to heal myself up to full health, and I do manage to recycle it again later in the fight with Exhume and get another Reaper that also brings me to full health. It's a neat little trick you can perform with this combination of cards, and it's one of the reasons Exhume was a worthwhile addition to this deck to begin with. You don't actually need to get your strength up to absurd numbers to win Ironclad runs in this game, but I think after you peel away all the layers of extraneous detail, I am just a game of cookie clicker at my core, so I like seeing the number go as high as humanly possible. At the upcoming shop, I just peel a defend out of my deck, and somehow in this run I managed to get rid of almost every single starter card, which is always a nice feeling. Nobody wants to sit on a bunch of strikes and defends all run. Then I go ahead and upgrade one of my shadowy tendrils. Upgrading Apparition is like one of the best cards you can pick, I'm told. Anyways, I'm fighting Terry the Tangela next. I start the combat out by generating some strength with both Limit Break and Exhume, and... What happened? My Limit Break. Poor soul. It was so beautiful. I genuinely have no idea what caused that or why that happened, if I'm being honest, but I won't let that get to me. The fight against this enemy is always kind of an RNG fest. For the first few turns, I stockpiled my intangibility and just happened to roll them into attacks, which each all went down to 1x whatever, and managed to get lucky and not accidentally roll them into a curse, which would have been massively unfortunate, but any good Shadow Lord isn't afraid of getting a little curse now and again. This is about the time of the video where I have to wonder if the Shadow God narrative is getting old by now, and... What's this? A challenger? This guy wants to oppose me and steal the title of Unrelenting Shadow God out from under my nose. If you don't know what this enemy does, me neither, to be honest. He has a mechanic, but I've never bothered to read it. To be honest, I think he just sits around doing nothing in particular and kicking his feet for a handful of turns before he decides he's had enough of this and decides to evaporate back into the oblivion that he came from. It's sort of like how I operate during family dinners and holidays. You know, on second thought, maybe we have more in common than I first realized. Hey, look, the transient. I know we've had our differences in the past, but I've had a change of heart, and I think we can ascend the layers of knowledge and become shadow gods together. Oh. Well, after that problem solved itself, the only thing standing between me and my necromantic apotheosis is the gauntlet of the two Act 3 bosses. Before I go in to do my first fight against the Timekeeper, I upgraded my Limit Break. I'm pretty sure this decision makes the card actively worse, according to what a lot of the Slay the Spire fans would think, but I did it anyways, because, well, I hate Slay the Spire fans. So finally, at long last, I'm up against the Slime Keeper. This old man has the mechanic where he counts every card you play and will occasionally decide to prematurely end your turn for you, sort of like a dungeon master that keeps forgetting you have a bonus action. That's a D&D 5e joke for all of you in the audience out there. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyways, I kind of get my ribcage shattered early on in this fight, and I'm not really a fan of that. I end up with like 10 health, and I have to use Reaper early just to keep myself from dying a painfully bitter Act 3 death. Fortunately for we, and by we I mean us, I had 53 strength at this point in the fight, and evidently that was more than enough to kill the Slime Keeper before he could even set himself back to half health, which would have been a problem for me for sure. I also end this fight with 16 total health, which is, well, a problem considering I have to fight another Act 3 boss after this. The fourth and final boss of this run was Donu and Deca, and since this was the last fight, I decided both of my potions were in use it or lose it territory. Starting off with 2 extra strength was actually pretty convenient when you have the ability to double it over and over with the upgraded Limit Break. I also make some convenient use of the intangibility, which I would have definitely died in this fight if I didn't find it. Better lucky than good, that's what I always say. Donu and Deca are sort of just a stat check boss. One of them attacks you every single turn, while the other buffs both of them every single turn. You kind of just have to be able to outscale them, either in damage or in block, and if you manage that, you'll win. Speaking of outscaling, I think 54 strength sounds pretty good to me. I used Twin Strike here to deal 122 damage and kill the Donu even while it was at half health. With any luck, this could be it. I had to pop my Dexterity Potion on the next turn because I was fresh out of intangibility and I desperately needed that block to survive. Or at least I would have needed it to survive if I didn't have the Reaper at the ready to deal 1 quadrillion damage and top off my entire health bar. After that, one simple Twin Strike is all it takes to meet the heart and, well, pass out from exhaustion because I didn't bother doing all the true ending stuff. Oh well, I'm sure nobody will be upset with me that I didn't actually finish Act 4 in this run. Probably. Hey there, thanks for watching my video. It was really silly and not very good, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. If you did, be sure to leave a comment so I can know that there are people out there who actually would want to see me do Ascension 20 on the other 3 characters. I was planning on making this sort of a series, so if that's something you'd be interested in, I would be more than happy to do Ascension 20 videos on the Watcher, Silent, and the Defect. Also, this channel has a Discord. It's the best place to get updated about future uploads. Consider joining if you want to make some friends, and you want those friends to be me. Okay, that's all. Bye now.